Hi, this is Josh Marshall from TPM Media. It's Thursday, October 25th, 2007, and this is episode 3 of our weekly Campaign 2008 Roundup. As we've mentioned before, we like to look at political betting sites on the web. Now, these betting sites, or futures markets as they're called, they're not necessarily a good predictor at all of what the outcome of the election is going to be, but it's a very good indicator of the current state of informed conventional wisdom about who's up and who's down in the race. Now, what you see right here is the in-trade futures market graph on the Barack Obama campaign. You see it starts out right there about October 2006, goes up more or less at a 45-degree angle right about to the beginning of August of 2007, and then it just collapses. It stabilizes for a bit, then it falls off again, and now it's trading not much above 10% chance of Obama winning the nomination. Now, what went on at the beginning of August for Barack Obama? We've looked at this pretty closely, and the event that seems to line up pretty clearly with his drop-off, again, in what conventional wisdom says about his chances of winning the nomination, it's that speech he gave about Pakistan, where he said that if Pervez Musharraf, the president of Pakistan, wouldn't act when we had real intelligence about the whereabouts of Osama bin Laden, we would go into Pakistan and take out bin Laden ourselves.
Now, I understand that President Musharraf has his own challenges. But let me make this clear. There are terrorists holed up in those mountains who murdered 3,000 Americans. They are plotting to strike again. It was a terrible mistake to fail to act when we had a chance to take out an al-Qaeda leadership meeting in 2005. If we have actionable intelligence about high-value terrorist targets and President Musharraf will not act, we will.
Now, the funny thing is, I actually think that what Obama said was exactly right, but he got pummeled in the way the press and the other campaigns treated him.
I think it's highly responsible or irresponsible for people who are running for the presidency and seek that office to suggest we may be willing unilaterally to invade a nation here that we're trying to get to be more cooperative with us in Afghanistan and elsewhere.
I do not believe people running for president should engage in hypotheticals. I think it is a very big mistake to telegraph that and to destabilize the Musharraf regime, which is fighting for its life against the Islamic extremists who are in bed with al-Qaeda and Taliban. You can think big, but remember, you shouldn't always say everything you think if you're running for president, because it have consequences across the world, and we don't need that right now.
It was a mistake, in my view, to suggest somehow that going in unilaterally here into Pakistan was somehow in our interest. That, I think, is dangerous.
Now, this is an example of something that's key to election campaigns. It's not just what you say or what you do, it's how the conversation about those events, what you say or what you do, takes place. And if you lose those, you often lose the whole campaign. And that's why, as much as we may not like it, campaigns have whole staffs of people whose job it is to try to control the news cycle, to manage the way that stories evolve, and to frame questions in a way that suits their candidate. And one thing that's been very clear about this campaign is that Barack Obama's campaign has not been nearly as good at that as Hillary Clinton's campaign. Now, it seems like the Obama campaign may be coming to a realization that this is in fact the case. You know, only a few weeks ago they let go of their web outreach coordinator, and just last week they hired John Del Staccato to run their new war room. Now, that may seem like a good hire, and I think it is one, but the real question is, how the hell is it exactly that the Barack Obama campaign hasn't had its own war room until this week? Now, what's a war room? A war room is a real room where a bunch of staffers are there working the news cycle throughout the day, doing rapid response, making sure that their message, their responses, their everything gets out to the press as soon as possible, and the other campaigns don't get a jump on them in the news cycle. Now, the invention of the war room is generally credited to the 1992 Clinton campaign. It really goes a little bit further back than that, but it's something from the early 90s, which means that it's something that every political campaign has had for almost 20 years. The word is the Obama campaign deliberately did this, deliberately didn't set up a war room because they wanted to make themselves look different. They wanted to look like they were embracing a new kind of politics that wasn't about spin, rapid response, and all the rest. Now, in theory, that sounds great, but you can see now they're paying the price. Now, let's look at that graph again. It's not looking too good for Obama right now. He's only there about 12% chance of winning the nomination. He's got a new setup, supposedly, a new war room, going to have a new aggressive attitude. And in truth, the primary cycle itself hasn't really started. We're still a good couple months away from the first primaries and caucuses. So there's still time, but a lot of the cards are stacked against Obama at this point in the game. I'm Josh Marshall from TPM Media, and we'll talk to you next week.